Hello, we may be live, or we may be just sort of warming up, flying through the tubes of the internet. Do let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me. It is lovely to be joining everyone once again. Really been enjoying doing these streams the past few weeks. So thank you everyone that has come along once, come along many times. Welcome if you are new, or if you have been to many of these, then thank you for deciding to put up with it again. It does seem as though everything should be functioning well, but let me know if we don't. I'm going to quickly check the sound, check we're making some sound. Are we making some sound? Hello. We do appear to be. That's good. That's good. Oh, hello, Sienna. Thank you for joining us again. Thank you. It's always lovely to have familiar faces. I hope everyone's well. It has been glorious weather today. I don't know how it is where everyone else is. It does mean that, obviously, to do these kind of things, I have to close all the curtains. So it means it's amazing weather outside, and then I've had to, shut myself off from it all. Hello, Ricardo. Thank you for joining us as well. I need to do the thing I always forget to do, which is to tweet to say that we're live. I know it's a bit boring to watch, sorry everyone, but that did mean last week, that meant we got some special guests in the form of We're in Hell and the Surfs and the Lit Crit guy, and who else rocked up? John Duncan rocked up. We had everyone. It was great. I'm now live here. I can't think of a way to make that a fun tweet at all. I did last week. Did remind me that I need to arrange some guests for some future ones. So I will do that for future times. Sienna saying I watched the Surfs debate last night. Oh, and hello Max as well. Sienna, what was the Surfs debate? I missed that one, I'm afraid. Who were they chatting to? I'm not a big debate sort of watcher myself. But shall we? Where are they? Twitch.tv /the Surfs. Oh dear, I've done 2 slashes. That's not going to work. Oh, can't find them now. I'm in the wrong browser as well, aren't I? Oh, I've got them coming through. They did a debate, socialism versus capitalism, was on their Twitch. I'm gonna I've forgotten how to do all of the stream things. But I'll have a quick look. Ricardo saying, Tom, am I familiar with perspective philosophy? I'm not, I'm afraid. We can have a quick look, though. We can have a quick... in philosophy point of view... Oh, no, okay, that's just explaining what the phrase perspective means. Oh, is it like a sort of channel? Or something? Is it a channel? Philosophy and veganism. Oh, interesting. Philosophy doctoral researcher and YouTube content creator. DM for debates. And in Northeast England. Yeah, that's cool. I, as someone who isn't a vegan, I've not super got into vegan YouTube. I did recently watch Seaspiracy, which was good. I sort of wish we could watch some clips from it, because I feel like there's so much to unpack in that program. Oh, Ricardo's saying, yeah, it's a YouTube channel. Yeah, no, I will check out. I'll check out their stuff. Hello, Tito. Hello, Donella. Thank you, everyone, for being here. No, we'll have to check out. What was I going to check out? That stream. Hello, Luke Bots as well. Thank you for being here. What was I just saying that we should check out? I want to see if we can find some clips from Seaspiracy, because I watched this the other day. This is, as someone who isn't a vegetarian or vegan, I'm afraid, I haven't checked out a huge amount of. I'm sure vegan YouTube is much more sensible than Seaspiracy. I wonder if we can get some clips from it. We've got someone debunking it. A lot of people doing debunkings. And I think there is a lot, it sounds like, because I did some reading about it afterwards. It does sound like there are some flaws. Oh, Sienna's saying, have I watched Cowspiracy? I watched a bit of the first, I don't know, like the first half hour maybe. I think probably got about half an hour in. Let's try and get some clips, and I'll sort of explain some of the things that I found less than ideal about it, maybe. So, for those of you who don't know, Seaspiracy is a film that exists on Netflix. I think it was a Netflix original. There was a previous one, I spelled that wrong, called Cowspiracy, which was the first film in this series. Here's the trailer for that one. And the sort of broad sort of thing about it is that both films, in some way, hopefully that sound should be coming through.
Right now
that might be a bit loud.
that you're putting your neck on
So Cowspiracy sort of predates Seaspiracy and is about kind of one guy's journey discovering the ways in which, as it says here, a single industry is destroying the planet more than any other. And how environmental charities don't want to talk about it, sort of that industry being agriculture. I think it had Leonardo DiCaprio as one of its co-producers, which helped sort of boost it, and obviously it was on Netflix, which always helps. And then after the success of this one, they decided to do a follow-up, which is called Seaspiracy. A lot of people took the mick out of them on Twitter, because obviously they could have called it Conspiracy, would have been the easier, do the SEA spelling. But they were quite keen to sort of go along with the sort of thing that they'd set up in the previous one. And I've watched more of Seaspiracy than I have of Cowspiracy, because I couldn't quite get through the whole of Cowspiracy after watching Seaspiracy first. And that's because they sort of have... They have this sort of really interesting vibe. So they sort of take on almost like a YouTube aesthetic, in that they're they're sort of gonzo, not necessarily in the sense of being, although they are a bit, they are very sensationalized, but also in the sense of it's like, it's all about the reporter themselves, the filmmaker themselves, sort of going on this journey of discovery. And the sort of pitch of it, there's a picture of him as a kid here. So the sort of narrative of it, because there's very much like a narrative that it's given, is that this guy's always absolutely adored the sea and grew up like loving dolphins and stuff, and supported a bunch of charities that did work in the sea, and then he gradually learns that actually he's always tried to like eat sustainably in terms of like, I don't know, tuna and other fish and sea-based products, but then the journey of the film is like him discovering that labels that say that is it marine certificate, marine safe label or something like that. There's like labels that go on stuff. I can't think. Oh, MSC. So the sort of MSC, Marine Stewardship Council, that's it. Labels like goes, well, actually, they can't really clarify that stuff is super, that stuff is as safe for other fishes and, sustainable as he imagines. But it's really odd in that it's really narrativized. Like, the whole thing is super... like, he's obviously done some research before he starts making the film, but the whole thing is like, I love the sea, and I just went to check out some people fishing, and then I found out that it was terrible. And there's bits where he's like, we were just in Japan wandering around, and we thought we'd go to the nearest fishery. We turned out that this was the worst fishery in the world. There's odd bits where at one point, I think the bit that really got me is there's a bit where he talks about his favourite plastics charity, and I was like, you don't have a favourite plastics charity. That's not a thing that people have. And, there's some interest to it throughout, I think. And initially I wondered whether, like, is it sort of doing, even if it's sort of sensationalizing a bit, maybe that's needed, right? Maybe this is so bad that actually what I'm seeing is sensationalism, is actually necessary to really emotionally hook people. But I did read a bunch of stuff about some of the statistics are like a bit pushed OTT a little bit. So there was Seaspiracy fact checker, and obviously these are going to be some people with sort of a reason to want to suggest that it's not correct. But there's bits like, I'm not going to register The Guardian. We might talk about The Guardian a bit later. There's bits like it suggests that, like, there we go. The ocean will be empty by 2048. And actually, the people that wrote the paper that sort of used 2048 as a date suggested that actually it was just that there might be less fish rather than no fish at all. And also it's got this like real vibe of nothing is good enough, like that we really can't do anything. And I think it leaves you more passive than you do going into it. Like, you sort of potentially go into it going like, oh cool, I wonder what I can do. And the answer is sort of that you can do nothing, but also that you alone not eating any fish is helpful. So it's sort of a bit one way, I don't know, like the whole thing, throughout the whole thing, the sort of vibe throughout the whole film is that anything you try and do isn't good enough, because even all the charities that are trying to do good stuff are actually lying to you and just taking your money and are too scared to give you advice that's actually going to help. But then at the very end, he's like, but if I just stop eating fish, I'm doing my tiny part to help. And so it's this really strange vibe in terms of I'm not entirely sure what it wants you to take away, whether it wants you to catastrophize and go, nothing is worth doing, or whether it does think you can do anything. And it was actually interesting going back watching Cowspiracy, because the presenter of Cowspiracy is a different person to the presenter of Seaspiracy, and yet he's also this kind of bro from, the guy in Seaspiracy is from the UK, the guy that presents Cowspiracy is from the US, but does this similar thing of being like, I've always loved cows, but then I found out the terrible truth. And it's almost like the same narrative. In fact, there's a line he says in Cowspiracy where he talks about his favourite something or other charity, where I was like, you don't have a favourite plastic charity or whatever. So they're kind of these weird sort of bro-spiracy films. And there's also, throughout it, definitely in Seaspiracy, the vibe is none of us should be eating any fish. And that's all well and good to say if you live in like a sort of developed global north nation. But actually, for a lot of communities around the world, fish is the only way of getting like proteins and vitamins, etc., that are necessary, and the way they fish is sustainable. So they're really, really odd films, and I don't really know what to make of them, but I would be skeptical of them. We've got loads more people in the chat who have joined us. Sorry, while I was going off about that. Yeah, Sienna's saying it's pretty dumbed down with the odd narrative. Luke Port's saying, have you read any of Gambon's work, especially on sovereignty? I've not, but sovereignty will come up in my next video, which I'm like literally just tying loose ends up with at the moment, and I'm going to be filming early next week, which is exciting because it's taken me a little bit longer, the video this time. Alexander, hey Alexander, thank you for joining us. Saying I've stayed away from Netflix documentaries since Tiger King. What a wild ride that was, Tiger King. Oh, hey JTO, thank you for joining us. I'm glad you like my channel. That's very nice. That's very kind of you to say. Danella saying, what about the Chickspiracy? I am keen to see what they do as like the next level in it. You know, because I feel like there needs to be a last one to sort of wrap up the Brospiracy trilogy, as I think it has to be called. Hello, the gamer from Miami. Hello, I hope Miami is good. I feel like that's the corner. So I've been to the US twice on holiday. Once when I went to New York a bunch of years ago, and then once I did like the train down the other coast, down the East Coast, which was really good fun. Was like, and not too expensive. Trains are actually quite cheap in the US. But so I feel like Florida's the only corner of the US I've not been to, but I hope as well. I've not watched the Louis Theroux follow-up because I think Louis Theroux had interviewed him quite some years before, and before like Tiger King came out, and then he's recently done one, I think, where he went back. I'm going to have to quickly press a button on the camera a second. Apologies for this very unprofessional thing while I do this. I can't think what I'm going to... you're just going to see... I'm going to quickly put on my interlude screen, but it's only going to be on for about 2 seconds, and you'll still be able to hear me. However, I may have just accidentally pushed the camera a little bit. Hello, Chizembe from South Africa. Thank you so much for joining us. Sorry, I will be a physical presence on your screen any moment. Not that anyone particularly needs that in their life. I've always had a deep connection with chicken since I was young. I mean, yeah, it has to have that. I mean, they've done ground, they've done sea. No, I suppose it would need to be something that flies then, wouldn't it? So chickens might not quite work. Because that, have I come back? Let's have a look. Am I back? No, I'm not. So this is fun. We all love camera hiccups happening on stream. Is exactly what everyone tuned in for, I'm sure. But having it up is, I'm afraid, the only way that I can see it, I think, unless I do that. Okay, 2 seconds, everyone. We've hit our peak people watching whilst I'm just having a technical nightmare. Okay. Maybe this is going to work. If I go back to me, am I there? I'm there! It has worked! Sorry, everyone. Sorry for that brief interlude of me. I accidentally... none of the kit I have is particularly ideal for this, so I have to leave my phone on connected to the camera to keep the camera awake, and I just sort of absent-mindedly locked it. In fact, I didn't. But who was saying... Maybe I should do a political compass test. Maybe that would be a fun thing to do. Let's do that in 2 seconds. I've never put too much stock in them, but we'll give it a go. Just me saying I feel like my octopus teacher was the only nature Netflix doc that wasn't sensationalized, and that says something. I couldn't bring myself to watch it. I did watch Maggie Mae Fish's video about it, I thought, which I quite enjoyed. But I haven't watched it. Nothing as entertaining as Technical Trouble. Well, I'm glad I could provide that for you this evening. Okay, we're gonna. I think Alexander's saying. I think it says everyone has lived left. I'm pretty sure that's the case. I'm afraid I don't know anything about South African white farmers. Although I know that is a thing that I think, as you're saying, that like the alt-right kind of bring up all the time. Hello, Axel from Sweden. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so as suggested by the chat. We're going to do a political compass test, and we're going to see what comes up. I'm going to see what I get. It's timely to stress that the political compass has been on the internet since 2001. The uniqueness of our take on politics is reflected in the gratifyingly enthusiastic reviews we've enjoyed in the national media of many countries from our earliest years, as well as from many teachers and academics who continue to use our work. I'm not sure that's the case. I'm very sorry. I don't think academics necessarily use the work, political compass as a sort of viable measure. So yeah, I've never particularly put much stock in this because I don't actually know how useful it is to put yourself on. Put yourself on this sort of map. But let's do it anyway. Oh, an advert. Close. Okay. Test. Before taking the test, please note that this isn't a survey and these aren't questions. They're propositions. To question the logic of individual ones that irritate you is to miss the point. I feel like they're all going to do that. Some propositions are extreme and some are moderate. That's how we can show you whether you lean towards extremism or moderation on the compass. Your responses should not be overthought. Some of them are intentionally vague. Their purpose is to trigger reactions in the mind, measuring feelings and prejudices rather than detailed opinions on policy. I think I'm going to try and someone's saying, Sienna's saying that that your teacher used it in school. I'm pretty sure we did it in school, and that might have been the last time I did it. So this will be interesting. I was going to say I'm going to answer it in a sort of idealist mode, I think. My sort of perfect vision of what the world could look like, rather than one that I think is necessarily possible in the next 5 or 10 years. We might be about to find out that I'm authoritarian right. Who knows? Okay. If economic globalization is in... Oh, sorry. Page 1 of 6. Just a few propositions to start with, concerning, no less, how you see the country and the world. So... number 1, if economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. Strongly agree. I feel like that's one that everyone would potentially strongly agree with, but some people would think that that the way to primarily serve humanity is through the interests. Like that Adam Smith thing about, the butcher does not give you your meat each day out of anything other than their own interest or whatever. I'll try not to do a 20-minute discussion of every single question. I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong. Strongly disagree. No one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. Yeah, strongly agree. Yeah. Like that's one that I'd sort of let people have some sort of I don't know, national pride if it was trade off for something else. But personally, it's not something I'm particularly going for. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races, and that's going to be a strongly disagree. Just to clarify that one. Okay. I don't even really know what this means in a sort of political sense, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Disagree? I mean, sometimes. Like, that feels like quite a random question. I'm going to go with disagree rather than strongly disagree, I guess. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. I mean, this is a difficult one because I suppose, again, it's like, does it mean international law as it presently exists? Does it mean any kind of potential international law? As a sort of hypothetical question, I'd definitely say, because it's difficult. Sometimes. It says sometimes justified. I'm going to say agree, because there is definitely situations potentially in which international law might be not great, okay? Alexander saying it needs a depends. I think that is correct. I think this does need... The thing is, I'd answer it depends for all of them probably. I'd be like, so many caveats. Luke Bot saying it's not from the benevolence of the butcher, the baker, or the brewer that we expect our meal, but from their regard to their own interest. Yep, that is the Adam Smith quote I was trying to think of a moment ago. Okay, there is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. I mean, that feels quite personal. That feels like the thing that I do for a living. I'm gonna say disagree. Like, I can see how, like, sometimes that is bad, right? But I also think there is a inherently slightly classist idea. Also, I need to find that. Inherently slightly classist notion to the idea that anything that's fun is sort of less informatively worthwhile. Yeah, Luke Bot saying that you aren't allowed to question the logic of the questions because they've said that I'm not, but I'm gonna anyway because I don't care about the rules that they've given me. I actually do. Okay, test. Now the economy. We're talking attitudes here, not the FTSE index. I think we might have briefly lost connection there, but hopefully I should be back now. Am I back? Let me know in the chat. Just to confirm that, sorry for briefly going away there. That seems to like happen once every stream for some reason, and I can't work out why. Matt is saying we're still good. Alifix saying there was some stutter. Okay, I do seem... You're back. Thank you to Nala for confirming. We're good now. Cool. Okay. My computer is also... the fans are like going like anything. So I don't know exactly what I've done to the computer, but it's having a great time. It was just EE's network. Okay, so question 2. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. Oh, this is... disagree, I'm going to say. I'm sure there are cases where that is true. But everyone needs doesn't need gainful employment, but everyone should have the opportunity to do something fulfilling and to be able to live from that. I feel like I watched D'Angelo Wallace do one of these at some point. I don't know how I was on YouTube for long enough that I ended up watching that, but I think he's just a nice guy to watch, so it's quite chill. But and he was just like, I have no idea what this means. Okay. That's not me dunking on him for any reason. I also am not do not have strong opinions. Someone in the chat. So this one is one of the harder ones. Okay, so because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. Strongly agree, and we will never sort of sort out the climate emergency until that does happen. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. Strongly agree. These are some nice quick ones because I know where I stand on these. The freer the market, the freer the people. Disagree. Again, I'm sure there are there is some depends in there, isn't there? It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. Agree. Like, I'm sure there is a place for bottled water in the world, but I'm also not gonna go to bat for the water industry. And there are other things like plastic waste. There are other reasons to hate that. Okay, everyone saying in the chat is just replying to the each according to their ability thing, which means I now have some idea how long the delay is between me saying things and the chat going through. Maya has said, I linked the 8 values test above. I think the political compass is a bit biased in that the positions the creator agrees with are phrased more positively. Okay, we'll do that as well. I think I've seen that on Twitter. I've never done it myself. Okay, question number whatever. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. Strongly agree. I want to make a video. I touch upon it a little bit in my video about copyright. I touch on sort of commons and commoning a little bit, but I want to make a video properly about that at some point, because I live near some moors with some commons, so I've got somewhere to go and film it. So I think that could be quite fun. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. Strongly agree. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Oh, I don't have any strong opinions. Here. Like, broadly disagree. I think this is going to be like a disagree because I feel like there are some caveats to this. Like, I think sometimes it's okay. Like, it is okay to protect a particular industry that you want to thrive. Although I don't necessarily know whether that's protection. I don't know. We're going to say disagree, but not strongly disagree. Nickelodeon in the chat saying, am I going to do a video about what Western culture or Western civilization actually is? I am going to do that at some point. I think I said last week that it's probably not going to be like the next couple of videos, partly because the one that I'm just sort of doing my final draft of at the moment, and I'm filming next week, and the Orwell video were both like conceptually heavy videos. So the last 2 or 3 months have been like quite heavy brain wise. So I'm going to do some that are maybe a tiny bit less, that involve, reading less thousands of pages. Not necessarily that they're less heady in many ways, because I tend to, all my videos tend to be a bit boring, but it draws on stuff that I already know about, probably is the thing, and the Western civilization, Western culture video needs some research to sort of back up some of the things. Okay. Someone in the chat, Earthivgs, saying it's smart to have some internal food production, and protectionism might be necessary to ensure that it's financially viable to produce food. I think that's true, and I think that the pandemic has probably shown us that, right? That actually it's smart to make sure that you have some stuff that is happening at home. Okay. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. Strongly disagree. The rich are too highly taxed. Strongly disagree. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. Strongly disagree. Government should penalise businesses that mislead the public. I'm not afraid of regulation. I think that's fine. That's good. Nickelodeon saying my videos are not boring. They are a bit though sometimes. Let's be honest. There's generally not loads of jokes in them, at least. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. Yeah, strongly agree. Okay, that was okay. That page was all right. Oh, Maya saying that they aren't. I've got family and friends addicted. Oh, that's nice. Thank you for recommending some of my stuff to some people. You know, it's always nice. Okay, page 3 of 6. Now look at some of your personal social values. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. Strongly disagree. All authority should be questioned. Strongly agree. Yeah, like there's you might question authority and then go, that's actually okay. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Strongly disagree, I'm gonna say. Yeah, that's very full on, isn't it? Let's okay, taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theatres or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. So a lot of this does feel quite British, so I do wonder whether it is it does come from the UK. Strongly disagree. I enjoy going to, like, one thing, a good thing that sort of the Tony Blair government in the UK did was made all national museums free, and they are all in London. So that is like, it does mean that it broadly privileges people that live in the capital more than everyone else, because everyone else has to travel there to go and see them anyway. But it's cool. It means you can do an itinerary of things, and yeah, you can have a whole day out in London doing stuff that's free, which is lovely. George saying that my glasses are nice. Thank you very much, George. That's very kind of you to say. They're relatively new because me and my partner got a car maybe about a year ago, and when I was driving it the first couple of times, I was a bit like, well, I don't think I can actually see so well driving this automobile. So I got some glasses. Okay, question number whatever. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Oh, I don't really have strong opinions on it. I'm sort of okay with school attendance being compulsory. I'm okay with that. I'm not going to... sorry, they should not make it. If I agree that they should not make it, so I want to disagree. I'm not going to strongly disagree, I don't think. I'm just not sure whether I can pluck up the enthusiasm to strongly disagree. But I do think that, you should have a good holistic education, and that maybe that is okay to be a thing that you should give up a tiny bit of liberty to not send your kids to school. Ricardo asking if I've been to Jamaica. I haven't, I'm afraid. I mean, I'd love to. Unfortunately, that is not something I've been able to do yet. It'd be nice, like, to go. Nickelodeon saying depends on if parents or the kid is deciding. Sort of depends who is deciding, whichever those. But I think I'm happy for that to be a compulsory thing. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. Ooh, strongly disagree. That one was like, the first half I was like, oh, this seems like a nice question. And then I got to the end and I was like, okay, and that's a big yikes. Okay, good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Strongly disagree. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Agree. Strongly agree. Agree. Again, it's a sort of, it depends, isn't it? I don't feel the enthusiasm to say strongly agree, so I'm going to just put agree. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offence. I'm going to strongly agree. It's not like I know some people find it to be their like central political thing. I'm not quite that enthusiastic about decriminalisation of marijuana, but I think it is quite punitive the way in which it is policed at the moment. Watching the World saying, I think you should make school engaging enough to not need to make it compulsory. I mean, yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? But it is sometimes difficult. I think teaching anything, sometimes there are limits to how engaging something can be. And sometimes there has to be something that is a little bit boring. Like, I don't know, sometimes that's unavoidable. You try your best, don't you? But, and you sort of see what you can do. How far through are we? Okay, we're 3 of 6. We're almost halfway. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. I'm going to say strongly disagree. At some point, I've been debating making a video about like StudyTube as it exists on YouTube. People that make studying videos, which, there is a point of my YouTube sort of career, as it were, where I sort of was not in that bubble in ways where at least some of my videos were about how can you write an essay and how can you, read books a bit quicker or whatever. But I think it's a really interesting space in that it's all about getting the work done and sort of getting the marks potentially, but just sort of like getting through all your schoolwork without that sort of thing of thinking about the more holistic process of learning, right? One of the cool things about writing essays is that you get to learn something about yourself and about the world around you, as well as just the functional thing of writing the essay. Like, I always come out of making a video for my YouTube channel, like, just loads more informed about a particular topic and potentially more enthusiastic and engaged in a particular topic than I was previously, and answering some questions that I had, as well as just having released the video for you guys to watch. And I think it's interesting. It's interesting what happens to some of these YouTubers after they finish school or college, etc. as well, because quite often they just become people that make productivity videos, and the sense that you get is that the reason that they started making videos about some of that stuff was that they were good students or were really interested in a particular topic. So it's an odd one. Watching the World saying that I'm a chemistry teacher and used to say you teach exams, not the subject. Yeah, sometimes like with the onset of the amount we test kids, that sometimes that is the focus. More than the actual learning stuff, right? The more holistic stuff. Okay, people with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. That's a big yikes. Again, strongly disagree. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. That's again going to be strongly disagree. There are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures. This is again one where it's sort of I feel like the implication here is that you're saying that like it's cultural relativism and nothing is good and nothing is bad. We're all just different. But actually, like, my reason to disagree with that is, and to strongly disagree with that, I'm going to say, is that there's people, and I suppose the terminology of savage and civilized as well, but also the fact that it's not peoples that are good and bad, is it? Right? It's individual people within that. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. I'm gonna disagree. Strongly disagree. I'm gonna disagree. I think the language of work there is difficult in that and the idea of like. I feel like the notion that people are refusing the opportunity to work is often used to mobilize, sort of sanctions of various degrees against people with disabilities. That they're refusing to work. It's not that they can't. But also that part of, if we are to live in a more equitable world where we do, each according to their ability, as was said previously, it would be nice if people put in the effort to use that ability, I guess. So I'm going to disagree. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. I'm going to say sort of disagree. Like, sometimes that can be an okay strategy, I think. I think that's okay sometimes, but also maybe that's not healthy as a long-term solution. So I think that's okay. What is this? What's the category of this round? Just some of my personal social values. Okay. That just seems like quite a weird one, sort of to gauge anything politically too much. First-generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. I'm going to strongly disagree. The idea of what does integration mean is quite big. Nickelodeon in the chat saying that it portrays the unemployed as lazy. Yeah, I think that question of lazy people should not, what was it? Those who are able to work but refuse the opportunity should not expect societies to support. That's what it's going for, more than, billionaires are able to work and, Jeff Bezos is able to work, but sort of refuses the opportunity. He decides to just live off his Amazon shares, and should not expect society support. Landlords are able to work, most of them, refuse the opportunity and decide to just own a house instead, and they should not expect society's support. Okay, we're getting there. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. Strongly disagree. No broadcasting institution, however independent in its content, should receive public funding. I'm going to say strongly disagree. So this is obviously, this I think also very much suggests that this is UK based. Or the question seemed to be coming from a UK perspective. And this is clearly a question that's meant to be about the BBC. And I, continue to be someone who believes in the idea of the BBC, even if I very much am not a fan of its sort of present existence. Okay, next page. Independence. I think independence is a better metric than impartial, because you can't be, impartiality is impossible, but sort of independence from whatever interests is possible in some way. And so I think there is a space for that. I just don't think it is fulfilled by the present British Broadcasting Corporation. Okay, page 4 of 6. We're in the second half. And how you see the wider society. I can't remember what the first half of that sentence was, but we'll go along with it. Okay. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counter-terrorism. This very much dates this quiz, in that I feel like this would have been a really hot topic, very, very, very topical question to have in, or item to have in here during, in 2001 when it was first launched. So I'm gonna say strongly agree. A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. I mean, that's an argument someone would make, I guess. It depends what you mean by advantage, but I'm gonna disagree. I mean, yeah, this is another weird one where it doesn't give you the opportunity to go, to question the premise of the proposition itself. The BBC sucks. Ads might help it. Can't make it worse, right? Don't worry, Fox News will be arriving in the UK soon. Yeah, we have GB News. Let's chat. So, So we are imminently expecting in the UK the arrival of a new channel called GB News. 13th of June. So this is going to launch in 10 days, less than 2 weeks. which is going to be a new news channel in the UK. And it has been pitched as like defiantly anti-woke, I think was the pitch that someone gave. Yeah, it has specifically been described as anti-woke. And it is led by Andrew Neil, who is a... Let me see if I can find a clip of Andrew Neil. He's like pretty much headed the BBC's political content for quite some time, but also like owns The Spectator. He's quite an interesting figure on Twitter because people will tweet at him and go, it is ridiculous that Andrew Neil works for the BBC, despite the fact that he is very clearly a conservative, right? He owns a very right-wing magazine, and clearly those are his opinions that he is always tweeting, and he's always like, no, actually, you don't know that I'm a conservative. Donella in the chat saying that he looks a bit cranky. He does very much have a slightly cranky old man who thinks everyone is out to get him vibes. As Waits Legaud is saying, one good thing that he did once do, and is, a very short list, is he did an interview with Ben Shapiro when Ben Shapiro's book came out in 2019, and brought up some of the things that Shapiro had previously said, and was like, do you still agree with these statements? And at some point, Shapiro just walked out, was like, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm leaving, and kept describing Andrew Neil as like, a member of the lefty BBC or whatever that was here to stitch him up. When in actual fact, as we have previously discussed, Andrew Neil, let's look up The Spectator. I'm sure if we type in The Spectator trans, we will come up with some horrible opinions. Here we go. They have it as a tag because they like to discuss it a lot. There we go. They're currently going after Stonewall, which is the UK's, I think, Europe's like biggest LGBTQ plus charity. Julie Bindel talking about Stonewall and the silencing of feminists' voices at universities. Like, that is very much the vibe of The Spectator, which he owns. And so he is now sort of heading up GB News. And the idea is that it's basically a UK Fox News. And I think there was 2 of these pitched almost at the same time. But this is the one that has sort of won out. And it's got loads of slightly cranky people working for it already. Let's see who has popped up. This is exactly the article I've just been on, I think. Then was some Kirsty Gallagher, Gloria DePerry. Yeah, so a good number of like ex-Labour MPs who are sort of what's often referred to as like blue Labour here in the UK, where they just sort of think that Labour should be a bit more racist. Michelle Dewberry, Andrew Doyle, who is like would describe himself as the sort of anti-woke comedian, I imagine. Let's look on his Twitter and see what comes up. But also runs there we go, like he's written a book called Free Speech and Why It Matters. He's like the comedian that's like, I can never get on, no one wants to talk to me. But he also has this like parody Twitter account that he runs called Titania McGrath, who's like just is like meant to be like a parody of the left or the liberals, etc. And there's something like, if you tweet and mention her name and like take the mick out of it as a sort of project, he will block you. But yeah, so he's an oddball. Who else is there? Tom Harwood. Tom Harwood's interesting in that there's sort of him and this guy, and there's also who's like Darren. what's his second name? Darren Grimes, who were like the two young people that decided that they would be like the token Brexit young people. And Darren Grimes is slightly more cranky, and hosts a thing called Reasoned, which I think the attempt was to make either a sort of PragerU or a sort of UK Turning Point, when Turning Point UK didn't actually really work. But he's now stuck doing these sort of basement videos where Tom Harwood gets to actually be on GB News. But it's going to be awful. Like, it's going to sort of take on the format which is much more prevalent in the US and doesn't really exist in the UK at all, I would say, where each show is like someone has a show and it sort of has a presenter that heads it up, which we haven't had so much in the UK, like maybe the odd one or two, but it's gonna be UK Fox News. Uruj Aklak, sorry about that, says I thought most of UK news channels were already right wing, and I think that's gonna be the interesting thing as to whether it survives. Actually, is there a market for this, or is the BBC and Good Morning Britain and is that audience just already catered for, and therefore will it not be able to survive? But we'll see. But it's going to be terrible. And in actual fact, it shouldn't really be allowed to exist in the UK. With regard to television, we have quite strict impartiality laws, which are meant to mean that TV broadcasting is meant to be impartial, whether that's the BBC or whether that's any other channels. And one of the ways, and it's sort of taken a similar, and radio is the same. A few years back, however, there's a channel called Times Radio, which is a radio channel which got launched, which sort of decided it could try and get around it by having like a left-wing show and then a right-wing show, despite the fact that they don't really have left-wing shows at all. LBC is similar, where it has like its sort of token liberal in James O'Brien, who is just a bit of a moron, was like super Remain and therefore anti-Corbyn. Wrote a book called How to Be Right because he's insufferable, and they've sort of taken that similar model, but as Andrew Neil has said, it's going to be like anti-woke, and so it is going to be ridiculous. Okay, where were we? I need to make sure not to close the Political Compass tab. So let's go back. Oh, go to the chat. GB News might try and claim they are for entertainment, not news. Yeah, I don't know to what extent that's an argument, because even like comedy shows, I think have to be what's it called, like Mock the Week, and that have to like be. I mean, they never really like all their jokes that are political are like, didn't Boris Johnson look silly, rather than like any actual critique of like government policy or whatever. But which is a network left of BBC though? There just really isn't. There just sort of isn't a. George Bevan saying, I'm convinced there is a market for GB News. Yeah, there might be. I'm not. That sort of more personality-led thing, I guess. Whereas, the Sky News, for example, and BBC and all the others are sort of like news, like it is just sort of rolling coverage of like, this is what's happening in the world. Okay, let's go back. A second. Sorry, it's quite boiling. It's quite hot. Okay, let's go back to the Political Compass. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. I say strongly disagree. I think, I don't know, having the sense of not being watched is good. Actually, my hot take there. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Strongly disagree. I think whatever your take on, you know, retribution versus sort of justice or whatever, you know, even if you think that there are crimes for which the death penalty would be an appropriate, you know, consequence, just the fact of getting it wrong is logically means it's a bad idea. Oh, Jabakasp. Sorry, I can't pronounce any of these today. Novara Media is a British left and independent media channel. Really worth checking out. Yeah, they're good. I don't watch a huge amount of it, but I've enjoyed what I have watched. But yeah, very much like online versus like broadcast. I think broadcast just, I don't know. Not even I don't think even necessarily more people watch broadcast TV than like might watch stuff online, although that probably is the case actually. But like definitely in terms of like prestige at the very least, something being on like real television counts for a lot, I think, in the sort of like popular consciousness. Okay, in a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. Disagree? I'm not going to like, because I feel like you can work out how it's going to use the questions to place you somewhere. And I feel like what it's trying to get at here is, do I think there should be absolutely no hierarchy whatsoever, or do I think there should be a very rigid hierarchy? You know, I can see that sometimes a bit of hierarchy might be useful. So I'm going to put disagree, but not strongly disagree. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. Again, just a difficult question because the accusation that something doesn't represent something often relies on just refusing to actually understand the bit of art, doesn't it? So I'm going to say strongly disagree, even though, like, I've been that person that is at a gallery and is like, I don't understand what this is, or I don't want to engage with a particular piece of art, but I don't think that means it shouldn't exist for anyone. You know, if other people enjoy it, that's okay. Things are allowed to exist that are not just for me. That's okay. And also, you know, I've got a friend who quite likes sort of a lot of conceptual art, and if I go to a gallery with him and he's aware of some of the work, he'll often like explain it to me, and actually having that explanation means that I do engage with it, and also I don't think that takes away from it having to have the explanation, right? Having to read the little bit by the side, I don't need it to be really upfront about what the bit of art needs. I'm happy to have it explained and develop my knowledge of it that way. Iruj saying, isn't art mostly for money laundering? Like, yeah, that is a whole aspect of it. That's a whole other bit to take account of. But the question it has given me is about whether it should be considered art. Whether it should be worth huge amounts of money is possibly something else, but I think it can exist. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. We were discussing this earlier. I'm going to strongly disagree. I think rehabilitation is okay. Is it a waste of time? It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. I'm going to disagree. Like, I don't know. I'm sure it is in some cases, right? But I'm sort of trying to work out how it's using the questions as much as my actual answer to the question. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. That's interesting. That is from, I'm pretty sure this question is from The Authoritarian Personality. And if I copy and paste this, I'm pretty sure this is literally one of the questions. I'm sure it is. Let's have a look. Why is it taking ages to load? Come on, Reddit. Oh, this is just like a meme of the political compass. Let me have a quick look. So I've got to... Okay, authoritarian. I'm pretty sure this is one of the questions from that. So this is going to be really annoying, but... Look, questions. Okay, the F scale, final form. Oh, does it make it through to the final form, or is it? The businessman and the manufacturer are much more important to society than the artist and the professor. Okay, so it's similar, but that's interesting. I wonder whether they pulled the questions, any of the other questions from somewhere else. Strongly disagree. Sorry, I'm such a... It's probably... I don't know. I feel like in my world that's a cool thing to be able to recognise, but it doesn't make me traditionally cool, probably. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Strongly disagree. I mean, they're allowed to be homemakers. They don't have to have careers, but that's I know what information it wants from me. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. Yes. Plants genetic resources. I'm guessing is that like Monsanto and stuff, I think. Oruge is saying, do you watch J-Reg's channel, Tom? I haven't. I might have watched like one video. Let me know in the chat some of his videos to watch, and we'll watch some in a minute and I'll see what I think. I get the sense that they're quite silly. I don't know if it's my sense of humor, but let me know good videos of his. Maya's a big fan, so Centricide series. Okay, once we've done this, which we've got, oh goodness, sorry, we've got 2 pages left. We'll go and do that. Maybe we'll do that in a second. Okay, making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. Strongly disagree. Do not go gently into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light. There was a video of, in fact, I've got YouTube here. Michael Sheen doing that at the National Theatre in the UK. For those of you that aren't aware, Michael Sheen is a Welsh actor in the UK, and the poem is by Dylan Thomas, who is like the most famous Welsh poet. And I feel like Martin Sheen's like life is just being asked to read this poem again and again and again, any time that it appears to be relevant.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day.
Poetry time.
Rage against the dying of the light. The wise men at their end know dark is right. Because their words had forked no lightning, they do not.
A poetry stream is a thing. Like just people who react to poetry. Maybe I can institute that as a thing that exists. Sienna Mom saying Dylan Thomas. Michael Sheen is also cool because he gave the Raymond Williams talk. People who watch my channel a lot will know that I'm a big fan of Raymond Williams. About Who Speaks for Wales, I think he called it. And in order to do it, gave back his MBE. MBE, maybe? I don't know. Whatever sort of honour he had. And Sienna, no, who was saying about... Oh, Nickelodeon was 81 was saying about Welsh Blair Stuntman. I think it's... does anyone watch Patrick H. Willems? He's got somewhere in his in one of his videos he talks about the Michael Sheen as Tony Blair cinematic universe. because he's played. I swear, like he's played Tony Blair in a number of different films. I think. So in The Deal, is The Deal the one? Is that the one about Northern Ireland? Maybe. Oh right, no, sorry. Gordon Blair and Gordon Brown making their decision that one of them would. What restaurant's at? Like an Italian restaurant, is it? The Granita. The Granita. Is it Italian? I don't know. It's just a sort of cafe. But so that's where Tony Blair and Gordon Brown made a deal that one of them was going to that Tony Blair was going to go for the leader of the Labour Party, and that sort of Gordon Brown could then be next. Which he eventually did get to be. But he's also played Tony Blair. Oh, here we go. So it is with Peter Morgan writing them all. The Deal, The Queen, and The Special Relationship in 2010. I've not watched The Special Relationship, I don't think. But yeah. Anyway, how did we get onto Michael Sheen? Oh, I was rage against the Dying of the Light. No, that's not the quiz I'm doing. This is the quiz I'm doing. Okay. Oh, sorry, I was not paying attention to the chat. I was sort of just monologuing to myself there. And lots of things people saying about J-Reg, Centricide series, watches Political Compass rap or Centricide series, seconding the Political Compass rap. It's a good intro. All his songs are epic. He's got video Please and Good the World War trilogy. Watching the World saying it was an OBE. Woo Charl. Do I watch Vosh? No, I haven't. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like my thing. I'm not super into like sort of debate bros, and maybe that's a misrepresentation of what he does. I don't know, but I don't know. It just doesn't appear. Okay, let's watch some. Everyone's saying that I need to watch some J-Reg, so we're going to watch some J-Reg. This is very much, every time anyone suggests a creator to me, I feel like an old man that's being told what's cool these days. I think someone said last time that the sound was a bit low, so I'll turn it up. Okay, so we're going to check out the Political Compass rap by J-Reg. Maybe I've watched this at some point in the past, I'm not sure. But we'll have a look. I'm going to turn this right up. Oh wait, what did it say? Turn on the captions. Turn on captions. Oh, if you need them. Okay, I'm going to do that. Here we go.
Hi, I'm totalitarian right. I'm the voice of the people. If the people are white, don't mean to get up in your face, but we're getting replaced. Culture war now, let's win this race. Okay, $15, right? That's $1 for every year that she's been alive. Well, I keep telling you, it's not pedophilia, it's a febophilia. Oh, she's only 14? Guess it is pedophilia. Still, it's $1 off, right? Oh, hi, I'm anarchist, right? I don't believe in a state. None of this might makes right. I think market forces
This is fun.
should guide the world, and if there's a market for it, I should be able to buy this girl. $13.50 final offer. Make me sick.
Sorry, that sounded very approving when I said it was fun. That obviously wasn't. I meant as a not that guy. I mean like the video as a whole, obviously.
I am the proletariat. You two capitalist pigs will get round up and shot, and I will speak for the weak whether they want me to or not. I am totalitarian left. My side is the best. I realized the last 5 times we tried the spiel starved to death, but I have a really good feeling about the next. I'm anarchist left and... oh fuck, this is not the place for me. How do all these ideologies suck so much? Anyone want some DMT? I'll have some. Here. You, not for free. How do you expect to stimulate the economy? Okay, first things first. Fuck you.
Oh, sorry, it's pronounced as one word, dredge, not J-Reg. Oh, I was thinking of it like a sort of JPEG. Oh, I'm being very old man now, aren't I? I'm not knowing all the things. Okay, dredge, like dredging a canal. Cool. Sorry, back.
What did I do? Second, you want to crush people through the state. I mean, yeah, sure, the state is great. You claim to want equality, but how can that be when the state is controlling how equal you can be? And third, fuck you! And fourth, you're not even an anarchist, dude. You expect to keep the people in line without a state? Please. At least the three of us aren't contradicting. What? This guy claims to be an anarchist, but fetishizes cops. Hey, if cops can be bought, then cops are great. They're only bad when they're used as tools of the state. Ugh, clearly you're the side most deserving of hate. Are you fucking kidding me? There's a Nazi in the Northeast. I do not see what you mean. This guy's a treat. Stop whining about tyranny. You'll never achieve anything with anarchy. I only keep you around because you shut their speech down. There should be no platform for government or Nazis.
I feel like it definitely appeals to people who are really into exactly positioning themselves as a particular thing, which might not 100% be me. It's very fun though.
There the left goes again, threatening my free speech. I just want you to hear my important ideas. I'm not gonna listen to a fucking Nazi. I'm not a Nazi. That's simply untrue, though I will say, not a big fan of the Jews. Globalists. He means globalists. What? No, I don't. Work with me here! You're clearly a Nazi! I'm more of a race realist, white identitarian, who believes in strong government, sure, totalitarian, but I don't want genocide, I just want an ethno-state. What if people don't want to leave? Then we have a genocide and it's great! This is why I can't associate with you. Agreed. Come near me and it's World War II too. We both know there's a pipeline between you and me.
I will say, as a sort of fellow creator, this will be like a nightmare to film. Actually, probably helps that it's that he's got the like beat to go with. That actually makes it a lot easier. Yesterday I watched the first half of the new Bo Burnham thing, where he's got the bit where he like reacts to the videos. Some of you might have seen it. And he's obviously had to film the whole thing in one go to then make it reappear. And that is really, really difficult to do. Okay, we can look up Centricide. There's a whole series. Okay, which is the one that I would...
Gentlemen.
Oh, which is the one that I should watch? Zakal saying make it stop. Zakal was not a fan. I guess like number 1 would be the one to watch, presumably. The League of Anti-Centrists.
It's good to see you all here. Thank you for coming.
Well, the way I see it, there was no difference between me coming and not coming, so...
You couldn't be more wrong, horseshoe centrist. What we are facing is a threat. A dire and existential threat to us all.
Can you just get on with it, radical centrist?
Patience, political nihilist. It's important we're all on the same page before we begin. Gentlemen, and giant ape.
I feel like this paper texture exists in like all like so many different videos and stuff. It's like the go-to one. Sienna saying this is debate lord territory. I'm feeling it's adjacent to that, although I can respect the guy's craft and comedic chops.
It is time we take extreme action.
Did you just say extreme? I'll gut you like a fish!
Whoa! Anti-radical, calm down. I'm on your team.
Sorry, force of habit. You know how much I hate those extremists, though. During the civil rights movements, they took me out of existence.
What?
It's a really interesting like reading of the political moment that definitely in 2019 we were in, even if not now as well, right? That we are in a moment where sort of liberal capitalism has had something of a sort of legitimation crisis, and it does often feel like that this is the way in which sort of establishment politicians act, right?
What did you do during the civil rights movement?
That they are all just like terrified of of everything.
I was the brave force telling those people looking for civil rights that they were looking for civil rights too extremely.
Well, if you think about it, there was really no difference between them having civil rights and not having civil rights. Okay, can we get on with this? This is kind of important. Ape political, please.
Advert.
To
Not an
WWF's
advert.
climate crisis.
This has heard that we were watching Seaspiracy, I think, and decided to show us a WWF advert. What was I going to say? I can't remember. There is definitely something interesting about it, about the particular political moment we're in. I feel like there's something interesting about the ways in which this compares to something like, I don't know, something from decades gone by, like who does Love Me, I'm a Liberal? Philox, of course. Like the sincere, although slightly jokey, Love Me, I'm a Liberal from the 60s. And that this is the place we're at culturally now, where it's a sort of similar message, but done with green screens and inaneness, I guess.
And if you look at it from an anti-colonial perspective...
It's good fun, though. It's good fun. Okay, let's go back to Political Compass. Right, let's get through this. We are slowly getting there. Mixed reviews for Dredge/JReg in the chat, I'm feeling. Okay, back to... Also, it says something about my cultural reference points, doesn't it? Where it's like everyone's talking about popular YouTuber Dredge, and I'm like, oh, this reminds me of Philox, who I don't know when did Philox die? Possibly like in the 80s or something. 1976. Sienna knew what I'm talking about, at least. Someone was on my side there. Okay, page 5 of 6 of our political compass. There's a lot more of it than I remember. But we're slowly getting through. I mean, it's taken us like an hour and a half almost of stream time to get through. Okay, if you've got through that, okay, you'll find these propositions on religion a breeze. Oh, interesting that there's a whole section on religion. Okay, astrology accurately explains many things. I'm afraid I'm going to put strongly disagree, but I don't mean any hate to anyone in the chat who is big into astrology. I was doing a Patreon Q&A a little while ago, and someone asked a question about my thoughts about astrology, and I was like, I'm very sorry, I'm not going to lie to you and say that I'm really into astrology at all, but I'm very happy that you you find some meaning in it. You cannot be moral without being religious. So strongly disagree. I think people do find useful moral guidance in their religion, but I also think there are many other ways to find that sort of moral compass, as it were. Charity is better than social security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. You can say strongly disagree. Rich people should not have the choice as to whether to support those less well off than themselves. They should have to do it because else they will probably choose not to. Some people are naturally unlucky. This is another one where I'm like, no, actually, no, sorry. No, I don't think anyone is naturally unlucky. Sorry, no, strongly disagree. I was going to be like, maybe I can see where this point's coming from. People just aren't, luck is not a thing, I'm afraid. It is important that my child's school instills religious values. I'm going to say strongly disagree. Oh, James Weatherly, who has just joined us in the chat, is saying, is this a political compass test? Yeah, this is. We are. So I can't remember who recommended it now. Someone was like, do the political compass test, and I was like, yeah, go on then. We'll do it. We're on page 5 of 6, so we're almost there to find out. It has been long, actually. It has taken quite a long time. Okay, final page. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. So strongly disagree. Finally, a look at sex. Sorry, this is a whole section about sex. A same-sex couple in a stable... I read that as a same-sex couple in a stable. Always read after the comma. A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Wait, I want them... Sometimes it's really difficult because it gives you like a negative statement and then asks you to a same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship. How do I say that they should be allowed to adopt? Yes, they should not be excluded. Yes, that's correct. Someone saying I don't believe in free will. I do believe in free will. James saying sorry I was late. That's acceptable. There is no punishment for. Oh, and Donella helping me work out how to answer that question. Thank you very much, Donella. Okay. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. I'm going to say agree. You know, as long as the various, I don't know, I think it can be regulated or whatever to make sure everyone's okay. But I suppose that's the difficult thing, isn't it? Between like regulated and like overly policed, in a way that usually just hurts people that, you know, work and to do sex work. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Say strongly agree. No one can feel naturally homosexual. No one can feel. So all these like double negatives. I'm gonna say strongly disagree. What do I mean that like that's yes you can just. To be fair, that's a difficult epistemological thing of like like I don't know. Yes, you can just be gay, get over it. No, I agree that no one can. No, I disagree that no one can feel naturally homosexual. Maya saying, "Am I a compatibilist?" I don't know what that means. What's a compatibilist? Do I need to look that up quickly? Compatibilist. I've spelled that wrong. Every time I'm doing these, I get it wrong. It's the belief that free will and determinism are mutually compatible, and that it is possible to be born with. No, I think people have free will. This got deep. I think people have free will. What did I answer that made everyone question whether I believe in free will? I think, was it the concept of luck that I got confused over? Sienna is saying that they phrase them weirdly, which they do. They are odd. Oddly. Well, that went south. Want a second shovel. What did I do? What did I do? Ketra Krelek saying, can't believe I was late to this stream again because I was on a vid call with another friend also called Tom. That's chat to your friends rather than join the stream. That's an acceptable reason to not be here hanging out. I think that's definitely okay. Okay, one question. We have one question left, and then we are done with the political compass. These days, openness about sex has gone too far, and I'm going to strongly disagree. And we're gonna see where I stand. I'm actually sat down. Ha 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 ha. Okay. About the political compass. Just going to give me a history lesson about the political compass. Okay. The starting point of the original political compass was in 2001, when we recognised the inadequacies of the standard political measure. It's certainly fine for discussing economics, but to this day it's still widely and wrongly used to describe social attitudes. France's National Front, for example, is popularly described as far right, yet its economic policies have sometimes been to the left of even the French Socialist Party. The party's real extremism is in its social attitudes. That's why we had it a social scale. I thought it was going to be very much, I don't know, it had lots of vibes of being based in the UK, or like the questions coming from that perspective. Maybe it's French, I don't know. Nevertheless, the more nationalistic and authoritarian a party or individual is, the more right-wing they're still labelled. This, of course, is absurd. Taken to its logical conclusion, it means that the further left a country sits, the more socially liberal its attitudes are. On that basis, North Korea must be a shining model of human rights and social freedoms. I love a exclamation mark in something that's trying to tell you something serious. We all know how it works. I mean, this is still like a simplification, right, of political attitude as well. Okay, my political compass. Oh, look, it was in the left libertarian bit. I think someone was saying in the chat that is like where it puts everyone. That like economic left-right minus 8.38. Social libertarian / authoritarian minus 7.74. There we go. I can print it out apparently. Or I can get a personalised political compass certificate showing my own position. Available online. Cool. I don't need a caricature of myself. That was fun, I guess. Although it is interesting, yeah, that it like does put you somewhere. Like I wouldn't say that my answers were particularly extreme, right? They were just like fairly sort of basic left-wing takes. Andy's saying in the chat that you need to try really hard to not get left lib. Yeah. Okay, Ryan of the Angel is saying, I'm going to take the test real quick and see if I get put in the same quadrant, lol. Surabhi, thank you for joining us. I'm glad you like my stuff. But there we go. That was the political compass, and that's where I landed. But yeah, I think as lots of people have said, that's sort of where everyone gets put. It is interesting. I think it is an interesting model to think about in terms of separating out sort of economic stuff and sort of social stuff as well. But I think it's always ultimately going to be a simplification, right? Because I think, as I said at the beginning, like I'm going to fill this out as like my ideal worldview, but there's, likely to be the occasional thing where I'm like, I'll trade one thing off for something else if it means that I get some political change in my lifetime rather than, holding out for the perfect thing. But fun. Back to chat. Have I gone back to the chat? I was going to get at one point, I was going to get one of those, like, you can get these cool things where you, like, press buttons and it changes all the screens. But I decided to cheap out, and so I've just got, like, the app on the iPad. I don't know why I felt the need to tell everyone that. Hello, John. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're good. We're definitely going to get... I'm going to get some guests on at one, and John will be one at some point if he's up for it. But I need to actually do that. I've been so into writing my next video this last week that I've just had no time to do anything else. But I'm almost done, which is exciting. I'm just doing the final little bits of making sure it all flows between sections well, and then I'm filming on Tuesday. It's taken a little bit longer, this sort of month's video, or I think what probably should have been last. I don't know, should have been out by now. I feel, but I think it's turning out quite well. I'm quite pleased with how the script's looking, and I think it's going to be fun. I'm filming outside, which is going to be interesting and probably horrifically cringe, but cool. Okay, so we've done the political compass, and it. John's saying that he's up for anything. He's a content slag. I would take advantage of that. Someone said, I can't remember whose stream it was I was on, where someone was like, "Oh, this is real. You've really, how did you?" I was like, "How did you get Tom Nicholas?" And I was like, I literally don't. I'm just happy to talk to people. Quantum Fire saying, "Am I dressing up?" Sort of. I was going to say I'm going to wear some clothes. Okay, obviously I was going to wear some clothes, but I'm going to wear some vaguely relevant clothes. I don't think there's going to be a there's not a bit as such, you know what I mean? There's not a skit in any way, because I just wanted to sort of get on the point. Last time everyone was like, contact ContraPoints for a collab stream, and I was like, I don't think I've got that pull, I'm afraid. and I also know that we have some differing opinions. Although I generally really enjoy her work. Maya saying, always worth the wait. Thank you. It's always nice to know people are waiting. Like, there's this sort of like odd two tensions between wanting to be like, I'm aware that, between knowing that, not wanting to be keeping people waiting, and like knowing that people are sat there potentially being like, why has Tom not brought out his next video yet? And like not, but also there is something nice about knowing people are waiting to eventually like a video to come out, right? In fact, there was an interesting take about that lately. So a little while ago, what are they called? Radical Reviewer, I think, did like a tweet about how people take too long to get videos out. And like I could sort of see that there's where the frustration is coming from, but at the same time, I think it was a very generalized and thus sort of bad take based on that. I've got to find it somewhere. Here it was. So this was like a little while ago. Radical Reviewer, who I think I've watched like maybe one or two of their videos, saying, not gonna lie, I really can't understand content creators who can't make at least a video a month. I've worked 2 or more jobs, often 70 hours a week during most of my channel's existence, and still manage to do 2 videos most months. Imagine some folks form a band and struggle to work around schedules, practice a few times a month, and play dive bars and such, and some other person is like, yeah, I'm a career musician. I pick up my instrument 2 or 3 times a year. It's disrespectful to the craft and audience, in my honest opinion. Which, I mean, John saying in the chat, that sort of like that was a bad tweet. Sienna saying, I mean, I find it weird that audiences think creators owe them content. Like, I can see where they're coming from, in the sense of, like, I don't know, if you were a member of someone's Patreon, right, and you were giving them $30 a month, and every other day they were posting a picture of themselves like on the beach, not doing anything, and clearly weren't putting, I don't know, like there is some, like I can see that there could be a super egregious scenario, right? And like I don't know, there possibly is, and I feel like this is the downfall of the vague tweet, right? Where people do this all the time, where they like vaguely tweet something where they've clearly got someone in mind, but don't want to say who the person is, and then the fact that they've avoided saying the person that they've got in mind actually means lots of people it sort of gets to a lot of people. And I think a lot of creators really felt like, you know, maybe this isn't a good opinion. Like, I mean, lots of people saying like, actually, like, you know, very, very ableist, right? That people have reasons that videos might take a little bit longer due to like mental health reasons, or I mean, a plethora of different sort of dis/ability reasons that one might take a bit longer to make something. But also on a more broader level, like I think even without that, I don't know, I think it misrepresents how like making a creative thing works. Like it very much suggests that the thing that you're aiming for is content out, right? Rather than whereas actually, like, I don't know, the amount of time and energy and effort going into something doesn't always mean that it happens quicker. Like, I don't know whether this was aimed at H-Bomber Guy or not, but it was like posted like the day that their video came out, right? That H-Bomb's video came out, and like this is an hour and 45 minutes, and it has like camera work, and it has animated bits, and it has a huge amount of archive. I actually, there was a point where I don't know Harris personally at all, but there was a point where he was looking for stock footage, and I was like, I can actually find some of it through university systems, and I think it was helpful. I'm not sure, but like, and that was like months and months ago. Like, this video obviously took a huge amount of time to make, and I think I felt similarly that, like, I generally these days, this video probably not included, because I don't know, it just happens to have taken a bit longer to really get my head around the stuff I've been discussing, but like sometimes it just takes a bit longer, and I could rush videos, but that would lead to a less good product, I would say. Like, the final thing just wouldn't be as good. And so it's sort of an odd take. It was an odd take. I think it was a bit of a vague tweet, and B, one of those things that you sort of half-heartedly tweet, and then it turns out to be a bad thing. Like, I don't know, it just turns out to be not as great a take as you thought. Or you, I don't know, I think sometimes when you use Twitter as someone who has a bit of a following on the website, you don't necessarily think about the fact that lots of people are going to see that tweet. You just think of it as like quickly sort of spilling your mind very briefly. But I don't know, they did seem to like double down, but apparently they're going to make a video and sort of explain exactly what they meant. But like, I can definitely see I can see that there is a logic there, but I think the vagueness of it was perhaps the reason that lots of other creators were like, felt a bit, I don't know. I think it is something that really, one of the reasons I think people sort of burn out a bit on the channel is that the pressure gets quite a lot, and you're trying to balance like making something that's super high quality with making something that is, has a decent amount of turnaround time. I always say that I like making videos sort of monthly or slightly over monthly these days, because it just takes that long to make them and make them well, because I don't necessarily get bored of topics, but I'm like ready to move on. Like, I'm filming my as I said, I'm filming my next video like on Tuesday, and I'm sort of already ready to move on, and so editing it is going to be a bit like, still working on this video, I really want to be writing and working on the next one. Someone's Surabi in the chat is saying, I don't understand how it's disrespectful to the craft of making videos. Yeah, like, I think actually taking time on things is not disrespecting a craft. It is, I don't know, like, it is respecting that craft to do it well. But also, and it is a difficult thing in terms of like, I also think we don't talk about the economy of YouTube very well, in the fact that there is the assumption that like there is a certain bit you hit and then you are living the high life, whereas actually I think we would be better, we would, I don't know, benefit from recognizing the ways in which having more, I don't know, resources, whether that's through advertising, whether that's through having a massive Patreon, whether that's through whatever, does mean that you can make work better and more quickly, because you can work with other people. Like, I really, really enjoy Philosophy Tube's work, and part of the reason she's able to make the videos so well is that, there is a huge budget there, right, to make them so well. And I was trying to find this one, because there was like a little behind the scenes bit in this one where you can like see that, right, there is a whole team there is a makeup artist, there is etc., which sort of, I don't know, is going to make things, it's going to make it easier to make high quality stuff, I think is probably the thing to say. Or not easier necessarily, but it's less sort of stress to make high quality. It's not less stress. See, even that's not correct to say. It's still going to be really sort of a lot of hard work, right? But it does mean you can delegate stuff a little bit. And Hoyt's Legord. Oh, sorry, I was just quickly doing like a behind the scenes. Like, there is a full team there, right? Which helps. But you know, it's still hard work. And what's interesting about Philosophy Tube is that you know, she has a big Patreon, and you know, but is clearly like you can see where some, at least some of that money goes. And I mean, Hawaii, if I pronounced that right, suggesting that, you know, you do owe something to your Patreon members. But I think creators generally really feel like that. Like I know that if I'm, you know, that these past couple of weeks, knowing that this video has taken a bit longer, have been like, I'm just constantly thinking about the fact that people that support me on Patreon might be a bit pissed off, right? That's like a constant, or that like they might all leave it or whatever, right? So I think most creators 100% recognize that already. Yeah. Sorry, people saying in the chat that sorry, what am I looking for? Chat. Saying that it sort of makes extra quality more available or opens up higher possibilities for high quality work, saying John. Yeah, absolutely. Like, however good someone is in terms of YouTube at having like learned how to use camera kit or learn how to edit, etc. Someone that does that professionally is going to do that better and is probably going to do that quicker as well. And so there is huge benefits of it. But yeah, and Andy's saying Abby's impressively consistent in her output. Like, yeah, like pretty much bang on monthly, I would say. But I think did she have a research assistant? She said that previously, I'm not sure. But yeah, you sort of see where some of that money goes with Abby's work, which is really interesting. Cool. What were we going to do? We were going to do another compassy test thing, weren't we? I honestly don't... Sienna's saying, I honestly don't think most patrons expect a video on a certain day. I think it's more to support the creator. Yeah, these days on Patreon, you can do a thing where people can sign up like and give you some money per video. I think that would stress me out less if I had that, but you're not allowed to change it. Which is slightly annoying, but yeah, I think like it's a real balance. Like with anything, I think it's a real balance. But I think most creators get into doing this. Like the odds of becoming a super famous YouTuber or whatever are like infinitesimally small, and so I don't think very many people. I don't know. No, actually, most people probably have a smidgen of a thought of like, I'm going to get into this and I'm going to be super famous and everyone's going to love my stuff. And part of that is probably the anxiety. Like, you know, I think that most creators have probably felt the thing that is coming through in this tweet of sometimes it just means that. Of like sometimes it feels like that other people are doing less work and getting more rewards. And I think in any part of your life, that's a kind of natural thing that you're going to think at some point. Like whether it's at school and you feel like someone else, you know, their parents are, I don't know, one of their parents is a French teacher or something. And therefore you're like, well, it's not fair. Of course, they're going to do better in French. And so I think, yeah, or someone gets the promotion or whatever, or someone gets the better shifts than you. And so it is really difficult. I'm still working on my like grand theory of YouTube video. In fact, I got a book today that Verso sent me to sort of help out with that. That I think is going to help. Yeah, other people are saying like you don't have to support creator. Like, I don't know, I do, you know, as a creator, I feel a massive gratitude to anyone who supports my stuff, right? And I feel really I feel there's like a good obligation that comes with that, where I'm like, that means I want to make work well, I want to make better videos now, because you're supporting my work financially. I want to make them with a good amount of regularity that, you feel like you're getting something in return for that. But I don't know, some videos just take longer to make, and so some videos just take longer, I think. I do a full working day working on videos. Sometimes there's more reading to do, sometimes there's less. I don't have a huge amount to say about existentialism, I'm afraid. I've not read a huge amount of existentialist work. Sorry, Jabak Casp. Although Andy's saying that as a patron, that knowing how much money's going out is is better. Yeah. What were we gonna do? We had a few things that we had planned. I was gonna open up another drink in a sec because I'm getting warm. John saying I can remember when I got my first patron and the overwhelming feeling of responsibility I felt. It is. Just a snack saying hello. Thank you for dropping by. I think creators do feel that obligation through having I don't know. I'm sure there are one or two that don't. I'm sure there are people who are like, yeah, just getting some money and wandering off with it. But I think most people really feel the obligation to, I'm always like, I want to use the money well as well. I'm always like, for this next video, because I'm filming outside, I've had to, I bought a different kind of microphone that I need to use, and I've slowly been upgrading stuff, but I'm always like, well, I don't want to just be buying stuff that I don't need, just for the sake of having it. But yeah. Oh no, I don't mind you asking about existentialism. Oh, sorry that I am not the big-brained person that can answer your question. Okay. 8 values. Well, I'm gonna get another drink. There's literally over there, so I'm not going anywhere. Don't worry. I'm gonna be 1 meter away. Sometimes it takes a bit of time to plan rather than putting up a kitten cam or blow something up. Yeah, I think sometimes it just does take that tiny bit longer. For me, it's always the reading. There's certain video, and it's not necessarily how conceptually hard something is. Sometimes that is the factor. Sometimes it's just that, maybe I'm making a video and I'm not entirely across everything about that topic, and I like to be for making the videos, right? I like them to be, I always think that the one thing that I want to come out of my videos is that they're well researched, in a way that, before I started making stuff wasn't necessarily something that I saw elsewhere. That there was stuff that was sort of well researched, but that I want that sort of used sources, but I wanted to make stuff that was I don't know, just really went above and beyond and had a real scholarly rigor to them. I don't always get that right, but I try my best. Hello, RC. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so we've also said, having done the political compass test, that we're going to do a 6 values test. Is that right? 6 values, 8 values, 12 values. I feel like it's definitely an even number that someone recommended. 8 values. Okay. Is this going to be better or worse than the political compass? I don't know. Personally, I feel that they're all very simplistic, and so I'm not. But it's been good fun. Okay. 8 values, instructions. You will be presented with a series of statements. For each one, click the button with your opinion on it. I've got it. Okay. Oppression by corporations is more of a concern than oppression by governments. Okay, so this does give you a neutral option, which is interesting. I'm going to say that any form of oppression is bad, and so I'm going to say neutral, I believe. I'm not super worried where the oppression comes from. Oh, it skips on straight away. Okay. It is necessary for the government to intervene in the economy to protect consumers. I'm going to say strongly agree. I think regulation is okay. Oh, RC saying, how did the political compass go? I think as everyone ever gets, I got like left libertarian down in this bottom corner. But I think everyone, yeah. Someone, who was it that was saying you have to try really hard to not get there? Yeah, John saying that I love to quantify abstract political values and there is definitely no ideology involved there. Absolutely. I think this is facts don't care about your feelings here. This is the Enlightenment Project quantifying and giving a taxonomy to complex feelings about how the world should work. I think we stuttered, but I think we're still live. Okay. Question 3 of 70. Jesus Christ, there's loads of them. Sorry. Question 3 of 70. So many questions. The freer the markets, the freer the people. This one also came up in political campus. I'm going to say strongly disagree. It is better to maintain a balanced budget than to ensure welfare for all citizens. I mean, so my position would be that your budget is not balanced if you are not ensuring welfare for all citizens. So I can never work out how to answer them though. But it's not better to maintain a balanced budget. I'm going to say like what this question needs is the book I'm currently reading called Donut Economics: 7 Ways to Think About like a 21st Century Economist by Catherine. Donuts near me. Kate Rayworth. I'm going to say strongly disagree because even though I think the question is more complicated, I know how it's going to use that question to place me. Okay, publicly funded research is more beneficial to the people than leaving it to the market. Obviously, if tobacco companies are allowed to, like the main funder of, research on whether cigarettes give you cancer, it's going to work out a certain way. So yes, it is. Tariffs on international trade are important to encourage local production. I'm going to say neutral, unsure. Ooh, is it doing that? No, it's doing a funny graphics thing here. I'm going to say neutral, unsure, I think, because I don't really know enough specifically about trade tariffs. I think, John's saying where is that I reject the premise option. Where is that? Does anyone have any strong feelings about trade tariffs? Because it's not a sexy topic, is it? Because I can see where they would be useful. I can see that could sometimes be useful. Like in the previous example, when we were doing political compass, we suggested that you might want to ensure that you have some. Yeah, okay, let's go agree, but not strongly agree. Because we said it's sort of potentially useful to make sure you've got some sort of agriculture industry in your country, because else you might be on an island and you might do a Brexit, or you might have a pandemic where you can't import or export stuff easily, or you might have, something might block the Suez Canal. So let's say agree, but not. From each according to his ability to each according to his needs, strongly agree. It would be best if social programs were abolished in favour of private charity. Strongly disagree. Taxes should be increased on the rich to provide for the poor. Strongly agree. Inheritance is a legitimate form of wealth. I don't know what legitimate form of wealth means. I sort of know what the question's asking me, but I'm going to say strongly disagree. Basic utilities like roads and electricity should be publicly owned. Strongly agree. Because they are natural monopolies and it makes no sense. Like you want to take the quickest road, right? So government intervention is a threat to the economy. I'm going to say strongly disagree. I'm going to say it can. I'm sure it can be if you... I was reading something about the post-war nationalizations of key industries in the UK, and how I think it was with electricity there was definitely a few, or power I think it might have been, where as many of those nationalizations were the centralized government buying previously like municipalized companies as they were buying like private companies and making them public companies. But again, I know that the nuance here is not should things be municipalized rather than nationalized, or collectivized rather than so I'm going to put strongly disagree. Oh, who was saying in the chat that they're new here? Maya saying this is my first time catching a stream and I love the book recommendations and all the little things I'm learning, making notes, check out Don't Economics. Yeah, I'm only partway through it, but I've really been enjoying it. Like, it's really, really well written. Like, it's like super, like I'm not super into economics, and probably wouldn't get through a whole really dense economics book. It's something I'd like to learn a little bit more about. But she's just a really great writer and really just takes you along, and as well as the ideas being super important as well. So I would really recommend Don't Economics. In fact, I recently joined the Left Book Club in the UK, partly because I was reading that and enjoying it, and there was a couple of other books that I'd read that I enjoyed, which I realised it's like a sort of thing where they send you a book each month, and I realised that a lot of their previous books were stuff that I'd read and enjoyed, so I was like, yeah, maybe there'll be some good recommendations. So I'm looking forward to them sending me some books so I don't have to bother choosing what I'm going to read. Okay, those with a greater ability to pay should receive better healthcare. Again, this is a political compass one, isn't it? So strongly disagree. Quality education is a right of all people. Strongly agree. It's odd, isn't it? Because I feel like most people wouldn't disagree with these broad principles. They might disagree on how you get there, right? They might say that actually private involvement in corporate involvement in education is how you get quality education, all right, people. But again, I still strongly agree. The means of production should belong to the workers who use them. Use them is a strange way of phrasing that. Maybe it's not, I'm not sure. Strongly agree. Capital in the 21st century is probably something I'm hinting. The bit I've read of Capital in the 21st century, I've really enjoyed. I think I've said on previous streams, I really like the way it uses cultural sources as well as like, you know, whatever the historical equivalent of an Excel spreadsheet is. And I found that really interesting. The way that Piketty's just like, actually, if we want to understand how much people of a certain station in society were earning at a particular point in time, then the fact that Mr. Darcy earns $10,000 a year is useful, actually, because Jane Austen is going to be, you know, it's not like an account sheet, right? It's not a tax return or whatever they had back then, but it's still a useful measure because she's going to be writing about, trying to write about the world as it actually exists. And I think he similarly uses like Balzac and stuff, the best named novelist. Oh man, sorry. I enjoyed that. I hope everyone else did. Okay. The United Nations should be abolished. I mean, like, I feel like it's like, why? Like, I'm gonna say neutral and unsure because it sort of depends why you might want to abolish it. Whether it's because you just think it's useless, whether you think it's because we should just go to war all the time, whether you think, military action by our nation is often necessary to prevent it. I'm going to say disagree because, like, I'm not going to say strongly disagree because, like, obviously sometimes if bad people are coming, it might be okay. I'm not, like, complete pacifist. Although the use of the word nation is interesting there, and will definitely be interesting to future viewers of my next video. But I'm gonna say just normal disagree. I support regional unions such as the European Union. again, this is really difficult. This is really, really difficult because there are good things to the European Union. Like, it is handy that if you live in the Schengen zone, you can travel about. I'm sure there are great parts of, like, I think internally it's quite good for the nations that exist within it. You know, on its borders, it's bad, and they don't like refugees very much. But yeah, British liberals do not really understand the European Union or all its complexity, and therefore our entire discussion about the European Union during the Brexit debate was sort of like, what vibes does it give off? Like, the European Union sort of gives off good vibes, whereas there is a lot that's wrong with it. But I'm going to put, like, what does it... This is basically meant to be a question about internationalism, I think. I mean, Sienna in the chat is saying... European in principle, yes. In practice, at the moment, no. What I'm always trying to do with these is trying to work out, like, what's it trying to get at, right? And I'm going to put agree because I think it's basically trying to ask me a question about internationalism. It is important to maintain our national sovereignty. I'm going to put disagree again. That's going to be again, I have complex thoughts about this, but. A united world government would be beneficial to mankind. Like, yeah, again, this is clearly meant to be a question that's going to tell me whether I'm an internationalist or a nationalist, whatever. Whereas actually, yeah, there are complex questions here in the sense that, like, I'm not. So this is going to take ages if I do a long discussion about every single question. But for example. A number of years ago, I'm not a huge fan of the British Green Party. I think they generally are just quite a posh party for posh people who sort of like the environment a bit. But they had a really good line a little while ago about each decision being made at like a sort of appropriate level, right? So having a system of governance that is like participatory, that everyone can be involved in, and like if it's really local things which only affect you locally, that you can make those on a really local level, but if they're like world decision, like, well, I suppose national decisions, that those decisions can be made nationally, and that's the kind of like participatory, like in my ideal world, that's what would exist. But again, I think this is just trying to work out whether I'm going to be sort of an internationalist or not. So I'm going to put like a normal agree. It is more important to retain peaceful relations than to further our strength. I'm going to say strongly agree. Wars do not need to be justified to other countries. Okay, so this is like if you want to start a war. I'm going to say like a disagree. All of the other countries might have bad opinions, right? And like Palestine are fighting a war of defense which is not justified by other countries, but those other countries are wrong. But I also know what it's trying to get from me, so I'm going to say just like a normal disagree, because I also think that peace is good. Hot take from me here today, an opinion that I don't think any of you expected me to have, is that if we cannot do a war, that's a good. Military spending is a waste of money. Normal agree, not a strongly agree. International aid is a waste of money. Strongly disagree. Okay, some that I actually know. My nation is great. Okay, yeah, no. I was like, maybe I've got like a complex take on this, but we've done some bads, and the UK at the moment is a depressing place to live, so I'm going to strongly disagree. Research should be conducted on an international scale, strongly agree, and vaccines should be not patented. Government should be accountable to the international community. I mean, so I think government should be accountable to the people who are subject to their like rule, right? Ryan of the Angel saying Tom's way of taking these tests is like how I do them. Every question I go, where are the lines here? I need to know more. Go on a 5-minute rant before realizing I was taking a quiz. I mean, yeah, we've had some deviations, right? But we have spent 2 hours and 10 minutes, and we've done the political compass and not even half of this one yet. We've done some other things. Sorry for my pro-peace opinions there, causing some rage in the chat. Government should be accountable to the international community. Neutral unsure, I think. I think that, you know, their prime accountability should be to the people they govern. I think this is like meant to be like a sort of human rightsy question, maybe, which I'm sure John will have many opinions on. Even when protesting an authoritarian government, violence is not acceptable. Strongly disagree. My religious values should be spread as much as possible. Strongly disagree. I'm sure there is nice ways to spread your, like, again, that is a, okay, sorry. I'm not gonna keep going with every question. Do a short 5-minute discussion. Our nation's values should be spread as much as possible. Bloody hell, not the UK. Strongly disagree. It is very important to maintain law and order. Neutral unsure. Like, I know what information it's trying to get from me, even if like there's obviously some complexity to the question here. I'm gonna put disagree because I sort of know where it's come. I know the sort of place it's trying to place me on in what kind of scale. The general populace makes poor decisions. Again, is this like a democracy question? I think like that it's trying to get at. Like, of course, the general populace sometimes makes poor decisions, but that is like because of ideology. But I'm gonna put disagree. Like, that doesn't mean I think we shouldn't do a democracy. Physician-assisted suicide should be legal. Yep, strongly agree. The sacrifice of some civil liberties is necessary to protect us from acts of terrorism. I mean, most sacrifices of civil liberty increase the chances that people are going to get pushed towards terrorism. So I'm going to put disagree. I'm not going to put strongly disagree because I'm sure there are bits where it's acceptable. Yeah, Maya saying law and order, right? That's sort of where that's going. Luke Bott saying, this does point to an interesting discussion. If you sincerely believe the Bible to be true, and if you believe other people will suffer eternally if they don't believe, you'd want to save them. Like, that's the thing, right? I feel like the question is going for, do you feel that everyone else who doesn't agree with your religion, like, should be forced to be your religion? I also get that, like, I don't know, people that are into religion would want other people to go with them, right? I don't know. I mean, it's the thing of, like, I feel like people have done a real about face on the like super atheists, right? The sort of extreme atheism of like 10 years ago, where people were like, "You believe in God, idiot," and now everyone's a bit more like, "Yeah, just, you know, you do you, you do you." Because like, yeah, because the how you spread your atheism, I guess, sort of depends on how you'd fall on that, answer that question. Okay. Government surveillance is necessary in the modern world. I mean, like, again, I know where this question's going, so I'm going to disagree, not strongly disagree. The very existence of the state is a threat to our liberty. I do neutral unsure. I'm not 100% against the existence of a state. I think it depends who wields state power. So I'm going to go neutral, unsure. I feel like my answer to this, because I'm caveating everything so much, I'm going to come across as like super centrist in a way that in a more complex sort of quiz, I might not. Okay, regardless of political opinions, it is important to side with your country. Okay, strongly disagree. Going to try and get through a few more now. All authority should be questioned. That was also in Political Compass. You are stealing their questions. Whoever made 8values.github.io. Thief. Yeah, strongly disagree. Hierarchical state is best. I'm going to do a disagree, but not a strongly disagree. Ryan of the Angel saying, I'm honestly glad as hell I wasn't super drawn into the YouTube atheist crowd too much back in the day. Yeah, I never got into... I think I watched the Christopher Hitchens documentary about Mother Teresa. Like, I think that's as far into it as I ever got. And I wonder whether one of my teachers at school showed it to us or something, I think. And that was how I got into that. But yeah, never got super into it. Okay, it is important that the government follows the majority opinion, even if it is wrong. Again, this is a sort of democracy question, isn't it? I'm going to put neutral. I'm going to put neutral on shore. The stronger the leadership, the better. Depends who the leader is, what they want to do, right? But I'm going to put disagree because I know because I know you, quiz. I know you, okay? I know what you want from me. Democracy is more than a decision-making process. That's a good question, and I strongly agree. I think that, yeah, democracy is something that can seep through our everyday lives rather than being like a once every 5 years thing. Environmental regulations are essential. Strongly agree. Cool. Some questions that I can have some proper opinions on now are coming through. A better world will come from automation, science, and technology. So this is going to have to be a neutral, unsure, and not because I'm a technophobe, but because that depends, right? It's not what tools you have, it's how you use them. So I've been redrafting my script today for the next video. I've been stood in this room pacing about, like reading the lines out loud, because quite often what I find is when I'm writing a script for a video, I sort of write it in a way that it's like a written document. And so then I have a bit of a process where I'll like stand here and read it out to get a sense of like, how does it sound in the air? How is it going to sound when I do it on screen? So yeah, I'm going to try that out. Sienna Mobs is saying Stephen Fry spoke to Jordan Peterson. I don't think Fry is a transphobe though. I watched a little bit of that, as I think I said last week. I watched a tiny bit of that video, and he was very much like, I don't know, sort of ceding a bit of ground to him. Not that you'd have to disagree with someone and everything, but like was very much doing the like, yes, maybe, the left have gone too far on X, Y, Z. But I don't know what thing. John saying he does the same thing. Okay, I'm glad other people do talking their scripts to themselves when they're making videos. Maya saying Peterson mellowed out though, right? Yeah, I don't know how his... But thing is, on Twitter and on his YouTube community thing, for some reason I always get his community posts on Twitter. He's still like sort of doing edgy stuff. In fact, let's take a moment to look at Jordan Peterson's Twitter to look for some of his recent cracking tweets. See, this is to start with his pinned one. This is quite telling, I feel. Him saying, look, it's yin and yang, right? Like, a lot of his stuff in his books is about... the number of times he mentions, like, the yin and yang symbol, and is like, look, they're working together, and there's a bit of each in one, is, like, it gets boring quite quickly. And like a lot of his work is about this, right? It's about splitting things into binaries of yin and yang, of masculine and feminine, of Western and not Western, but also sometimes his stuff includes stuff from very much cultures which he'd describe himself as non-Western, society and nature, right? It's all of these binaries. And here he's suggesting this books are the same, but he has chosen the books to be this colour, and that is sort of quite telling in terms of like, well, I'm not reading too much into this brief tweet, but it's actually quite similar to the ways in which the rest of his writing goes, because like, of course you can split everything into masculine and feminine because you get to decide what is masculine and what is feminine, right? Like if you've got two boxes and you're putting things in two boxes, then of course the whole world can be fit into two boxes because you're placing the things there. You're deciding where the things go. And that's like very much his stuff. But, you know, he sort of says it as though things do just are naturally masculine and feminine, or part of society and part of nature, rather than it being him, rather than like the lens he's applying to the world, saying more about him than the world itself. In fact, in 12 Rules for Life, he has this whole thing about how Jesus is traditionally conceived of by people as like non-binary. Like he doesn't use the word non-binary, of course he doesn't, but like not like as agendered in some way. And I was like, I don't know, maybe that's the opinion of some really obscure theologists, but that's not something I've ever heard anyone say. Like I grew up going to church, right? I know some people that are still religious, and no one says, like, no one talks about Jesus as though he was not a bloke. Like, I don't know, that's just part of it, right? That Jesus is he and is a bloke. And that, I don't know, that was just really interesting for me in the sense that like his whole thing is, I mean, he says himself, right, that he's not interested in whether the Bible is true or whether like God exists. He's just interested in how those stories exist in the world. And so I was a bit like, well, if you're just interested in how the stories exist in the world rather than the like deep theology of it, then it doesn't matter that some theologians think that if you look at the original text of the Bible in Hebrew, I want to say, or Greek, then, you know, Jesus does not have a gender, because the way the story circulates, he very much does. But yeah, but I always find that interesting in terms of some of those things he gives off. In fact, the way I like to think of it is, some of you might be aware of the book Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, right? Which is a book by Samin Nosrat, who is a chef, which talks about the fact that all recipes, right, all food involves the use of 4 sort of types of thing: salt, fat, acid, heat, right? So your heat can be many different kinds of heat, because you could be frying something from one direction, or you could be baking something where the heat's sort of all around. You could be putting something on a barbecue where it's really close to the heat. You could be slow cooking something. You could be grilling something. You could be putting something in fat, right? You can have all different kinds of acid. You can have all different kinds of fat. So you might, so I don't really know much about acid, I'm afraid, but, and how that's used. I can't remember that bit, but like you can use all different kinds of fat. So you might use duck fat, or you might use olive oil, and you might use it all in different ways. You might rub something in, you know, if you're, if you're doing lamb, you might, you know, rub it in oil. If you're doing chips, you're going to dip them in oil. You might just have butter on a bit of toast. And, you know, the amount of salt depends on how much flavour is going to come through. And this is again similar to that thing about all songs having this, using the same 4 chords, and is again similar to the ways in which Jordan Peterson talks about stories being morally true, and archetypes existing throughout our world, and all things that are similar become the same to him. They're basically the same. And the equivalent is, and it's particularly that like Joseph Campbell thing of like monomyth of that all stories are basically the same, which he sort of runs through Jordan Peterson's work in a slightly diluted sense. But to me, like, so this salt, fat, acid, heat thing in terms of cooking is really interesting. Of going, look, here's some things that exist in all kind of food, and how you use them depends on what you end up with depends on how you use them. But what her argument isn't is that therefore a curry is exactly the same as a loaf of bread. Whereas that is the kind of Joseph Campbell, Jordan Peterson thing, is like, because things involve similar stuff, then they are exactly the same, if that makes sense. Whereas that's not the case. He had some great other ones. I'm not going to click the potentially sensitive content because I don't know what come up. I don't want to get the stream to be taken down by the bosses at google.com. Watching the World UK sing, I'm back. What did I miss? We have done a bit of the 9, 8, 12, 8 values quiz. And are now just sort of looking through Jordan Peterson's Twitter thing. It's for young boys looking for a father figure. Like, that is his sort of main audience. And some people like come off of that and go like, so it's sort of a good thing that it exists in the world. But I'm also like, well, there's just other things that could exist instead. Like, it doesn't have to be Jordan Peterson. Yeah, he's started to have these these keep coming up on my YouTube from his, I think from watching a lot of Jordan Peterson videos when I was researching that video that I did. He's got someone professionally doing all these like sort of Instagram things, which keep coming up on my YouTube homepage now on his community tab, which is a bit annoying. And these are just he just sort of tweets aphorisms, which I'm guessing are his are some of the rules from the book. There were some really bad ones though. Oh man, just everything's so serious to him. I think that's the thing that really like it's just a massive bummer. Okay, Hwaitslegord, sorry, I can't pronounce, I'm afraid. Is saying that worst thing is that he claims to be not conservative, and it's like it really is like just like people like, and all his fans always comment on stuff being like you've said that Jordan Peterson is on the political right or is a conservative, right? And actually he is not a conservative, and it's like that's not a controversial thing to say, right? He just like, that's just what words mean. Like, all his opinions are conservative opinions, right? And it's frustrating. It's frustrating. Just because he says that he's not, it's not like he just is. All of his opinions are conservative opinions, and he's a fairly like traditional conservative, I'd say. Like pretty down the line. What's this? Watch the video, you appalling, pathetic, malevolent, self-righteous, lying fool. How dare you? Oh, what is it? Is that actually it? Someone talking about yeah, there is an like North Korea is obviously not a good place, but there is an interesting way in which defectors from North Korea are like incentivized to talk about it all the time. Sahar saying, hello, joined by jumping right into the fire, I see. You've chosen a good time to join us. We've done a lot of sort of political compass / 8 values quiz, so I thought we'd take a brief break and sort of just look at Jordan Peterson's Twitter thing as a little break before we get back to it. Check the account as shield for the CCP. Might be the case, to be honest. There is still this sort of like super edgelord stuff on all his Twitter. I know someone was saying in the chat that Maya's saying this is so messy. Yeah, like it is. Like, I mean, everything to him is like extreme. Resentment is horrible, toxic, and destructive, but it's useful. Like, he feels like, I don't know, he just comes across as quite a resentful guy as well. Like, I don't know, like just not a happy guy, and that's like, I don't know, that's okay to not be happy, but he sort of projects that onto the world quite a lot. Oh goodness, I forgot about the whole Red Skull thing. Because that's really interesting, and something they've really interestingly been doing in the Marvel universe with the Red Skull and sort of Hydra for a number of years now. From the sort of, some of you might remember like Hydra Cap being a thing. So there was a story. A number of years ago in the Marvel cinematic, Marvel like comic world, where Captain America turned out to have secretly been Hydra, and it's actually sort of it's a much longer backstory where there was a cosmic cube, which is sort of similar to the Tesseract in the films, which had convinced him, which is sort of sentient in some ways, and was being a prison for like supervillains, but then escaped and got to, I can't remember it all now, got to Captain America and convinced him that he sort of put a different history into his brain where he thought that he had been raised by Hydra in like a school, and it was actually a really interesting story, and like was a tiny bit sort of Donald Trump bad, like because it came out at the time that Donald Trump was, I think it was before Donald Trump was actually elected, but I thought it was a really interesting story, and it very much went for the angle of like, look at how like Hydra's sort of role in it was that they found disenfranchised young working class mostly men, and sort of gave them something to work towards, and there are parallels to that with Peterson's work, and I think it's really interesting engagement, use of comics to engage with some of that stuff. Not a perfect one, but I found the stories really interesting. Also, on another level, it was just really interesting for to have all of the Marvel characters. So basically, Captain America made himself get nominated to be head of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then obviously used that position to sort of set an emergency thing and sort of take over the US, and become like supreme dictator of the US as sort of Hydra Captain America. And so politically, I thought it was really interesting and really well done, but at the same time, I thought it was it also just made for really good storytelling, because suddenly all of your like Marvel heroes were very much on the back foot, because they were like the sort of, it was more than just where it's like, get me photos of Spider-Man. It was like that they were these, not sort of freedom fighters, but like, I don't know, it was cool storytelling wise. It gave a new angle to it all. Sienna and a couple of people, I think, in the chat saying that JP sort of misuses Nietzsche. And Jordan Peterson and Nietzsche is sort of interesting, because so he sort of takes the God is dead thing. So Nietzsche's big thing is God is dead and we have killed him, is it? Is that the whole phrase? God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? What was holiest and mightiest of all that the world has yet owned has bled to death under our knives. Who will wipe this blood off us? What water is there for us to clean ourselves? What festivals of atonement? What sacred games shall we have to invent? Is not the greatest of this deed too great for us? Must we ourselves not become gods, simply to appear worthy of it? Thank you very much, and scene. So yeah, Nietzsche's sort of main vibe is that sort of this idea of God being dead, by which he means that religion's importance in the world has started to become less, right? Because the Enlightenment happens and people are now interested in rationality, etc., rather than necessarily basing everything about society and how it should function around religion. And Nietzsche's thing is sort of like, so how do we create a moral world to exist in? Like, how do we find the kind of moral boundaries and moral guidance in a sort of post-religion world? But what Jordan Peterson does that is interprets that as Nietzsche being like, it's definitely a bad thing that we don't have religion anymore. And that's not quite what he's going for. Like, as I read it, like, Nietzsche is actually, thank you for the applause for my performance there, everyone. Thank you very much. If one reads, I'm trying to think which book it's in. I think it's Beyond Good and Evil. Nietzsche talks about the manner in which the church structures morality to favor people with power, right? He talks about like the words of like the word noble, as well as meaning someone who is of like noble birth, therefore also becomes a word to mean good. The word poor, as well as meaning someone without much wealth or power, also means something being not so good, right? And he talks about that. He talks about that as an interesting analysis. So he's certainly not someone who's like, yes, religion, and particularly organized religion, was always good. But that's sort of how Peterson interprets it. And again, it's another way in which Jordan Peterson sort of interprets things in ways he wants. Like, if something doesn't say what Jordan Peterson wants it to say, he will make it say what he wants it to say. He'll just tell you that that's what it means anyway. Okay, 8 values again, because I'll probably, at 10 o'clock or so, will probably go and watch the rest of the Bo Burnham thing, which I started watching yesterday. Okay, we'll try and speed through some of these. Children should be educated in religious or traditional values. Strongly disagree. Traditions are of no value on their own. Strongly agree. There's nothing... Oh, no, I'm going to say agree. I think there is occasionally something... something that sort of gets to you about things being traditional anyway, right? I don't think it makes a particular difference in someone's relationship, whether they are married or not. But if I go to a wedding, I'm like, oh my God, it's so amazing. Seriously, I love a wedding, me. So I'm going to say agree, because I know what the question's trying to get at, but I don't strongly agree. Religion should play a role in government. Strongly disagree. John saying Nietzsche said, I was cool and very hot. It's in there, yeah. There it is, absolutely. It's 100% in there. A very important quote that gets taught in every Philosophy 101 course. Churches should be taxed the same way other institutions are taxed. Yep, strongly agree. I don't know. I feel like sometimes they can play a decent role. I don't know if they're doing good things, but I suppose it's the same way other organisations, I suppose. So, if they're charity and they're doing charitable things, they can be taxed the same way non-religious charities are. Climate change is currently one of the greatest threats to our way of life. Strongly agree. It is important that we work as a united world to combat climate change. Strongly agree. See, some of these are easier. Some of them, I think, my adding of nuance is going to mean that I'm going to be like maybe down the middle a bit more than I would probably expect to be. Society was better many years ago than it is now. Like, I'm going to say neutral. Like, time is not a ascending or descending line. Neither is it a sort of Steven Pinker-esque progress, nor is it a fall from the Garden of Eden, right? Somewhere in the middle. It is important that we maintain the traditions of our past. Again, I'm going to say disagree rather than strongly disagree, because sometimes traditions are just nice, and that's okay. It is important that we think in the long term beyond our lifespans. Strongly agree. Reason is more important than maintaining our culture. Strongly agree, because I know what it's trying to get at, I guess, rather than necessarily having a full-throated support for notions of reason. Drug use should be legalized or decriminalized. Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, strongly agree. Same-sex marriage should be legal. Strongly agree. No cultures are superior to others. Strongly agree. Cool, we're getting some now. See, these are the same questions from the Political Compass, I'm pretty sure. Like, the way they're grouped together, at least, is in similar things. I don't know why both have, like, an obsession with doing a big, like, sex section. Sex outside marriage is immoral. Strongly disagree. If we accept migrants at all, it is important that they assimilate into our culture. Strongly disagree. Don't care. Live your life. Abortion should be prohibited in most or all cases. Strongly disagree. Gun ownership should be prohibited for those without a valid reason. Can I say strongly agree? I think in the UK not having a load of guns is good. I know that is a controversial take for some, but I support single payer universal healthcare. Strongly agree. Prostitution should be illegal. Strongly disagree. It should be illegal. I disagree that it should. Yeah, okay. Maintaining family values is essential. I'm going to say strongly disagree because I know where it's going with that. To chase progress at all costs is dangerous. I do strongly agree with that, even though I think the way it's going to use my answer to this question is to, like, swing me as a, like, traditionalist right-winger. But I have a left critique of progress, as do many people. Genetic modification is a force for good, even on humans. I have no strong opinions on genetic modification, so I'm going to put neutral, unsure. And this isn't even one that I'm like, I'd like to add some caveats here. I just really have no strong opinions. Maybe I should do. We should open our borders to immigration. Strongly agree. Governments, we're getting there. Governments should be as concerned about foreigners as they are about their own citizens. I feel like the way it uses the word foreigners there makes it sound really like those bloody foreigners over there. But I think what it means is, like, should we do international aid? And should we, like, care about people living in other countries? In which case, I'm going to do strongly agree. All people, regardless of factors like culture or sexuality, should be treated equally. I'm going to say strongly agree. Oh. Okay, final question. Shut up, Siri. Okay, final question. It is important that we further my group's goals above all others. Strongly disagree. Let's see what happens. Okay. So, no massive surprises, actually, even with some of my adding lots of caveats. Economic axes, communist, which is, like, interesting, because I wouldn't say I gave any particularly extreme takes there. I feel like I could have been anything between a social democrat and a or even like just like vaguely liberal, all the way to communist, like just the way the questions were put. Diplomatic axis, internationalist. See, I could tell that was what some of those questions were aiming at, even when I sort of felt like I wanted to put something slightly different for the answers. Civil axis, libertarian. Libertarian authority. Yeah, that makes sense. Societal axes, very progressive. Cool. Wait, what's that? Sorry, societal to tradition progress. Yeah. Closest match, libertarian communism. Ideological matching is a work in progress and is much less accurate than the values and axes. You can send these results by copying and pasting the URL at the top of the page or using the image below. Think your matched ideology was wrong? Want to help us calibrate the test? Send the results along with your political ideology to us at 8values@gmail.com. Or send us any comments, questions, or criticism. As someone who sort of makes stuff on the internet, I bet that they get a lot of emails, and I bet that they might read one or two, but I get they don't reply to any of them. Cool. Like, I mean, it's sort of interesting, isn't it? And it's sort of fun. Like, I found that quite fun as a provocation for the discussions that we've had along the way. But, like, this ending point is always going to be a bit of a, like, okay, we're done now, right? Being able to sort of, I don't know, place yourself. I don't know. I just don't know how useful that is, because you approach different problems individually, right? Rather than all the same. The pronunciation of URL as Earl got me. Do people not say Earl? I should work for Audible. Maybe as like I've debated doing like as a Patreon goal, doing like an audiobook of something. Like nothing too long, like something short, but just like as a sort of off I don't know, little fun little thing. I did actually at Christmas, what I almost did was, and this I think CGB Grey did something similar that I spotted as well, where I was quite keen to do just do a thing where I just sat down and sort of did a sort of visual audiobook of, I guess, just me filmed reading of A Christmas Carol for Christmas, and to do it as like a fundraiser video for something. And I might do that next year maybe. And in fact, I think that there is definitely a thing. I can't remember who it was. I think Dan Olsen said something in his video about the flat earther video. I think he said something about how he'd wanted to make that video quite a while ago, and then H Bomber Guy had made a video about a similar thing, and so he was like, okay, I'm not going to do that for a while. I definitely feel that thing where if someone does a similar topic, I'm like, okay, I won't do that. And I think I was going to do the Christmas thing as a sort of fundraiser video, and then didn't do it because Philosophy Tube did the video where she dressed up with the like chains and stuff, and I was like, oh damn it, there has already been some Christmas Carol adjacent content this year. I cannot make more of it. But yeah, this was where I landed on the what was it called, 8 values test. Anything more to round us off before we finish? Because I think I'm going to slowly bring the stream to a close now. Last week, I sort of just was like, yes, I think that's over now. I've got to go. And I think I just needed the loo. And I was like, bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. Off we go. That's over now. But never too much Christmas. Should I just do it now? Do it in the middle of summer. I've got some cool videos I planned, and then recently I've been like, well, I want to make the ones where I'm gonna film. I'm like the weather's just nice, so I'm like my sort of grand theory of YouTube video, which I keep talking about, and I probably won't call that, and it will probably be about a specific element of of YouTube, rather than everything at once. But I'm like, that's one I'm going to film inside, and I don't want to, there's some cool things that I want to film outside, and it's not. Oh yeah, also yeah, Sienna's saying, also I lost my voice. I was just like, last time I was like, oh my god, I can't speak, I'm going to die. It is snowing somewhere. Christmas in July. Oh, did anyone see the tweet where the person was like, I've stopped saying Christmas, and I'm not going to be able to find it. If anyone can find this for me, someone did a tweet about how I don't say winter or spring anymore because it's like someone replied to it. Oh, okay, here it is. A teeny tiny inclusive language thing I've tried to get better at this past year is avoiding Northern Hemisphere specific seasonal language. Like, instead of this summer, I say the months I mean, or Q3, because it might be that season for me, but not that season for everybody. And like, yeah, like, I get, like, it probably is really annoying if you're like based in the Southern Hemisphere and people keep talking about spring and it's actually your autumn. But also referring to Q3 in like casual conversations is amazing. Also, just the like world that this person lives in, where you're like, I suppose as someone who works on the internet, I semi-regularly talk to people that live in other countries, right? That's sort of just part, that I guess that sort of is part of what I do. This has very like super corporate vibes of, I have to talk to the, I don't know, the Johannesburg office or the somewhere else office. Super inclusive, right? Yeah, this is, don't worry, this is like, it is some proper posters brain. Yeah, I was like, is this a joke? But I don't think it was. From the conversation that was existing around it, I don't think this was a joke. I think this was like a legit. Q3 is very sterile. Happy. Imagine that. Instead of like I'm not against people going like happy Winterval or whatever, or happy holidays. I think is better because you're not like making up a holiday. You're just acknowledging that there is multiple holidays. Or trying to go like happy, just trying to remember some of the different holidays that are happening, right? And going and wishing people happy Hanukkah and happy Kwanzaa and whatever, as well as happy Christmas. But like, happy Q4, everyone. I hope everyone has a happy Q4. My thoughts on Wiccan stuff. My Q2 is below par. It is very like economic dystopia. Because I'm like Q1 next. Sozio saying just came back from a run and was wondering if you're still streaming. Almost 11 p.m. and I'm still going strong. I'm definitely going to catch up on this stream. I am bringing it to a close though. I'm afraid. Block versus Lucas. I've not really read those debates. I think, are they in aesthetics and politics? 2 seconds. I'll try and find the book. I think this has a chapter where it's like Block and Lucas, yeah, where I might but I've not read it, so I don't have thoughts. Sorry, don't have any opinions. It sounds like a QAnon. Can I make a video on Judith Butler? I got halfway through at one point making a sort of gender / feminism video, and I think I got a decent chunk into writing it, but I think I ultimately was like, actually, as someone that's had like and continues to have a really like sort of normative experience of gender, in which the gender that I was given, they sort of got it right, luckily, and like having had that experience, like to write about it was actually really, really difficult, because to only be expressing that really normative experience didn't quite feel useful, I think. And maybe that's like a sort of one to do in collaboration or something, but yeah, so I sort of think I'm gonna at some point do a video on masculinity, which obviously I can talk lots about as a bloke, but no, looking at sort of critical approaches to masculinity. But I don't know. What I really need is for some right winger to say something ridiculous about real men, because it's been a little while since there's been like a really successful someone saying something like that that's really gone viral that I can then make a video about. But I'll do that at some point. Need a hook. My thoughts on Nietzsche. I said a few words on Nietzsche. I've not read much at all. One of those writers that I've only read about, that I like when I've got a specific project, and I'm like when I was making the Foucault video, I think it was probably the most Nietzsche I've read, because I was like, because I need to, so I dipped in to find the exact things I needed, rather than having sat down and just casually read his work. Okay, I think though we are reaching the end of Q4 of this live stream. Thank you very much, everyone, for popping on. And lots of people are saying they'd like to see Maya is, at least, sorry, saying that I'd like to see a video about queer theory / feminism. Alex Zand saying, what about a video about anti-feminism? I feel like that's sort of been covered, that sort of history of anti-feminism online. Maybe like a sort of deep history of it. I think that's the videos that I tend to be a bit better at. Like some people do like sort of super detailed like sort of details of online histories of like, your Gamergate to the present day or whatever. I think maybe what I am better at is doing the slightly longer histories of like, how does this emerge from pre-internet days. In terms of like death of the author, people often bring up Bart's death of the author as though it's like a pro against debate, whereas it's actually more of just a although it's got quite a provocative title, that essay, it's actually just kind of a fairly mild take. Big Joel's video on anti-feminism is pretty good. Right, sorry. Anyway, I've said I'm going to wrap up this stream, and I'm going to do that with a heavy, heavy heart, because this has been a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming along, for sticking around, for having a good chat. Thank you for suggesting things to do. That was really, really great. Let me know. What I should do is set up a special email address for like suggestions of videos to watch or stuff like that for each stream. Do bring, if you see anything that you think we should watch, or if you any topics you want us to discuss each week, do bring them along. I will be back next week at 7:00, same time, UK time. So same whatever time it is where you are now. 3 hours before that, I'll be back. Yeah, same time, same place. These have continued to be really, really good fun. So thank you so much, everyone, for I don't know, for being here. Because it'd be rubbish if it's just me. But thank you so much, everyone, and have a lovely week. I'm looking forward to next week being able to tell you all about having filmed the next video, which is exciting. real quick, what microphone stand do I use? This is like a Rode, just like table stand thing. I would have got a cheaper version, but I was like, I'm going to use it a lot, so I thought I'll just get the I got the brand splashed out. I don't know, I think it was like 20 quid. I don't know. Sorry. Good final question anyway. But yeah, have great weeks, and I will see you next week. Do pop along. Ta-da!